Okay. Yep, take it away. Okay. Hi guys. My name is Jonathan Heavens, and I'm going to talk to you today about a platform that I've been building over the last 12 months. It was last September where sort of the idea first came, and yeah, I've just been plugging away at that, and I'll just tell you a little bit about my background, and then yeah, get right into it. So yeah, this is background, and then how it started. What is TrustMix? Who's it for? And then I'm going to jump into a demo of the platform, and then answer some questions at the end if I've got some time. So yeah, right. So I am originally from Devon, and I've been living in Leeds for the last 9-10 years, and I'm currently in Denmark. I'll tell you why I'm in Denmark in a second. We were talking actually at the start about Iceland and Scandinavia, and yeah. So my background, I'm a qualified accountant, so I'm qualified with ACCA, and I'm 33, so I've been throughout my 20s. I pretty much I made my way up from like account assistant up to finance director, and the last 5 years up until the end of 2019, I was at a travel comparison website for airport car parking, which was quite a niche travel tech business. And yeah, and then the company sold to Manchester Airport in 2018, and I left with vested share options end of 2019. So I was quite fortunate to leave. I left with about 100 grand, which was like, oh my god, that's pretty cool. And then the goal was to go backpacking through the whole of 2020, which obviously that we know how that didn't sort of really turn out. So I made it. I ended up going to Thailand, Laos, Vietnam, and then 10 days before lockdown hit and we all had to come home last March, I met my now Danish girlfriend, and now I'm pretty much in the process of moving over to Copenhagen. So bit of a COVID success story and just super random, but yeah, I'm now in Copenhagen. And then, this is a picture of me and Astrid and being photobombed by a sheep as well. So that's me and Astrid. So yeah, and then as I mentioned, at the start of September last year through to this time, I built and recently launched last month a property platform called TrustMix. So how it got started. The reason why I'm putting all these words up is because normally I can just talk about it, and it's actually a little bit more difficult to think about the structure when you put it into a presentation. So that there's information I'll just talk about how it got started. So last year, obviously, we all had a lot more time on our hands. Always loved property. I thought, right, I've got about 50-60k I wanted to like play with and go get into stuck in property investment. I've got one buy to let already. I bought that 4 years ago and thought, well, let's crack on. So I started going up to the Northeast. I was looking at flips, BRR, all that sort of thing, and thought, well, I'm an accountant, so I like spreadsheets. So I created a spreadsheet, and obviously to try and work out what my max offer price is, and then you've got your refurb cost and your exits. And the reason why I decided to take a step back was because I don't like paint a stereotypical picture of me that I'm overly risk averse and all that thing. I just thought, because all things considered, because of like the exit strategy and the uncertainty around COVID and how that was going to play out, and then also with the refurb cost and me being inexperienced in that on the refurb side, I was probably going to end up sticking all the money I've got into like one deal, and I just thought that was too much like risk to take. So I thought, take a step back, stick to what you know. And I've been in a property platform, in a property company, sorry, not property company, a startup company for 5 years, and I thought, well, I've seen my previous team, like how that works and how that's been built up. So yeah, at that time I just got networking, just like we're doing tonight, with so many more people, and I was coming off of Zoom calls with sources and thinking, well, you sound great, you sound like you know what you're talking about. Maybe you can find me like a deal that something that I might not find. But there's one thing where it was like, we could be best friends, but it's another thing when you decide to do business with someone. So it just got me thinking about that kind of thing, about how do I get to the point where I trust someone enough in order to do business with someone. And that really applies across the board in anyone that you really interact with. And obviously during COVID, we interact so much on Zoom calls. Like some of you guys might be, meeting me for the first time tonight, like, who am I? So I've tried to have my finance analytical background thinking, right, okay, breaking down those things that contribute to enhancing trust. I was using a site called People Per Hour, which is similar to Fiverr and Upwork, which are those freelance sites where you can find a graphic designer or a copywriter or a virtual assistant. And I just found it super easy to find a copywriter to do some copywriting for me, because I'm good with numbers, not with words. And I just, out of a list of 50, I just found it super easy to pick who I wanted to do. And I had confidence that I wanted to do business with this person, albeit, a smaller amount of money, but you get the idea. So that was a bit of the light bulb of, does this exist in property? So that happened last September, and then I spent a couple of months just going in on competition analysis, like what other platforms exist in property and who's doing similar things. Is this, because normally when you have an idea, you're like, oh yeah, it's already been done. So I just went in on that. And then there's other platforms that exist, like Sourcing Investments, which is all about investors and sources. But there's also, I suppose, Checker Trade, which is about finding tradespeople. But there's nothing really that exists that's for all types of people that exist in property investment. That it makes it easier in order to search and find people. This is the TrustMix team. So this is these three guys. Other three guys, they are from the previous company. So I sat across a desk from them for 5 years in the development team. So there's Dan, who's the design guy. Then Gary looks like a Viking. He's like a main developer, and then Paulina is like one of my. She's just really, really good with like front end development. So yeah. So what is TrustMix? So it's a free to use property platform that makes it easier for you to search and better assess other people and businesses to network with, do business with, or hire. So it's, if you think of like Fiverr and People Per Hour, it's a place where you can go and search and find other people. And our aim is to save time, reduce risk, and generate business. So when I say save time, I mean like, and we've all got different risk appetites, or of, oh yeah, I trust you because of, I think you're really good. I'm a really good judge of character. But for me, it might take me longer to generate that, to build up that relationship, build up that that decision of, yes, I want to do business with you. So I think hopefully TrustMix can make the process easier, so that it might not take you 3 months, it might take you like 1 month to get to a point where like, yeah, I want to do business with that person. And then reducing risk. So hopefully we can make it into a process that it reduces your risk, that hopefully all of these things that contribute to enhancing trust, and then generating business. So if you sign up to TrustMix and then you flash out your account and say you're a solicitor, or you're an accountant, or an investor, tradesperson, management agent, then you'll be present on there, and then people can search and find you, and that will hopefully be a lead generator for you, like, Bryn, for being a SaaS provider. People can go and search and find you, and then make contact with you based off of using the platform. And that's the plan. So the core USP about TrustMix is our rating system. So I mentioned I love Excel. I geeked out on Excel and made this algorithm, a points-based algorithm that takes into consideration all these things that contribute to enhancing trust. So I think a common thing I say is, like, if you went onto my Facebook account profile, which you can do and search for me, and you saw that I had 3 photos, it was a week old, and I was chatting some stuff about cryptocurrency, then your level of trust on me is going to be like rock bottom. Whereas if you went on there and saw we have mutual connections, we were in similar property Facebook groups, and you could see I'm a real person, I've got a picture of me and my girlfriend and a sheep, and then your level of trust is going to be certainly higher than like the first situation. So I mean, that's sort of demonstrating social proof, an element of that, and also points of contact. Whereas if you just go onto someone's account and they don't have Facebook, I mean, you could, obviously we can get into the social aspect, or the social dilemma aspect of, who are you if you don't have Facebook? Well, especially in property, most of us are in the property community. So what I've done is just I've quantified these things that contribute to enhancing trust. So if you have a business email address as opposed to a Yahoo or a Hotmail, then you get some trust points for that. Maybe you don't get as many as you would for, say, having a Facebook account, or for being a verified sourcer. So verification of information is also super important. So if you're a sourcer and you're a compliant sourcer, So when you sign up, if you sign up for TrustMix and you're a sourcer, you can then add your ICO and AML and indemnity insurance, and then we're going to go and validate that, because that's objective information that we can verify from an external source. So these are, and that principle should really apply to like everyone where possible. So it's kind of like those things where if someone says, oh, we've got 15 years experience, well, how do we verify that? Like how do I fact check that? And you take that with a pinch of salt, but obviously this is this processing that we do all day long. So the core thing is a rating system, which is a points-based system. And then what we've done is I've then converted that into a score between 0 and 5, because that's what we understand. If we just said, oh yeah, Bryn's got 1,920 points, like what does that really mean? Whereas if it's in a score between 0 and 5, we can understand it a little bit easier. So at the moment, what we've done, because I needed to like manage my expectations when I first started out, and I was speaking to like my main developer at the time, right at the start. Oh yeah, I want it all to be done by January, and now we're in September, a year later, and we haven't done all of what I wanted to do. But things take longer than sort of realize that. So what we've got so far is a search filter feature, which is where you can go on and search and find other people, very much like 5 people per hour. And what we want to do is a little bit more to that, and we're going to be building out TrustMix further. And it's really pinned on these 4 things on the left, which is really the common denominator of what we all network about and talk to each other about and communicate. Is we're looking for recommendations, advice, tips and guidance, project updates if we're working on a flip or a refurb or general project, and then we're offering or looking for an investment opportunity. So you get like the same as like Rightmove kind of thing, and these other platforms that exist for off-market opportunities. So down the line, we've started with the search filter feature, but we are going to be hoping to do a social network aspect, very much like Facebook and LinkedIn down the line. So you have that social aspect, but it's backed up by ratings. So you can literally go and hover over someone, and in the very snapshot, see, right, Bryn is a, sorry, Bryn, you're on my screen, so I can see your face. So Bryn is a SaaS provider, and then this and this, and he's been recommended by 23 people. And then just so how Vero was giving kind words for Claire and Bryn, it's like it's those things that really contribute to enhancing trust, right? So it's really trying to paint that picture in an environment which we all use on a day-to-day basis, because that's networking property. And then down the line, property listings. So when you've got off-market property listings and you've got sources with ratings, if you've got two identical properties in the same street posted by different sources, and one's a 3.2 out of 5 sourcer versus one's like a 4.6 out of 5 sourcer, like which one are you going to rely on the information more of? So that's the sort of idea, and then we're just really growing with that and trying to prioritize what's the most important next thing to do. So yeah, and then who's it for? So my sort of blurb is it's for all stakeholders that exist in the UK property investment industry. So this is like a list, and it's not an exhaustive list. I've got a catch-all of other service providers. So it's really for anyone that exists in property. So yeah, that's sort of the plan. It's not really specific to investor or sourcer. It's really for everyone, because we all interact with each other all day long. So yeah, I'm just going to jump into a quick demo of the platform. So I might have to, I think I've got to unshare and reshare my screen, but let's try this. And then if okay, and do that. Okay, can you see my screen? Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks, Brent. So yeah, this is like the front page when you come to TrustMix. This is okay. So yeah, this is like where you come to, and then there's some information about what is TrustMix and really what I've been talking about. And then at the bottom there's some frequently asked questions which I can go through as well. So yeah, you sign up. I've tried to make the process as easy as possible. Also, a big thing is this isn't sort of a sales pitch to try and sign up and say, right, it's going to make a membership. This is free to use. So I think it's super important that, and I want it to be as free as possible. Obviously, down the line, we will be, it's going to be I'm thinking it's going to be similar to like LinkedIn, where you can use like large parts of it free and free forever all day long, but there's going to be these premium bells and whistles that are premium things. But my real focus now is, I think, because of the fact that I'm not in a position where I need to like go out and make some money so I can like pay the bills. It's so I can really drive value first. That's my main priority. And then I think there's lots of scope for how to drive usefulness. And then people say, well, hey, that's generating me £1,000 a month from a business. I'm happy to pay you maybe 50 or £100 a month. I mean, we'll see how that comes, but really it's free to use. So you can sign up, and then when you sign up and you click on the verification link, then this is like the main screen. We're currently redesigning things to make it good, like user experience. But at the moment, we've got a section where you can update your profile and an area where you can search for people, and that's the search filter feature. So I'm going to click into that and just show you a little bit how it looks. So when we launched at the end of July, so 1st of August, we had 68 people that had signed up, and we did like a soft launch end of March, and it was really like a closed beta environment, so we could get people on and just using it and giving feedback. And it's kind of still in that phase, but it's more publicly available, and that's why I'm trying to raise the awareness because this is really going to live or die by the amount of people that you can get on the platform. I'm sure you can see, like, the more people that join, it means that when people search and find, there's going to be more people to find, right? So at the moment now we've got 170 users that are people that have signed up, and and obviously that's my aim, is to try and grow that number as much as possible. So yeah, this is so here you have a list of people who, and you might as we go down, you might recognize some people, but you can then search. So if I wanted to say, let's find Claire. So if I go into a broker, then you've got, like, you could go location, or you could go specialize in. So if I went down to say asset leasing, so there's Claire's profile. So Claire signed up earlier today, and so that's, and you can go down, and you can also see you've got the rating here. So these are things that Claire filled in, and I've got a back-end admin area where I literally validate that information. So here you've got Claire's website, so we could click through to Claire's website, Cashflow Leasing, and then you can also click on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. There's an email address, and there's also a phone number. So you're just a way you can just make contact with Claire, based off of, the idea is that, if we can build this up to be really robust and super useful, you could, and like if we just unclick here, you could, another search what we can do is say investor. So there's currently 51 investors, or people that have signed up that have said that they're investors. And you could then say, right, I want to take the investors that have the highest number of recommendations. So you could sort by that. So you have Sarah, Ahmed, and Jamie. And you can say, right, I'm just going to contact them, because based on that, and based on my understanding of TrustMix and the things that contribute to enhancing trust, let's make contact with them. So yeah, that's the idea. And then if we wanted to let's find Bryn. So service provider, and then there's SaaS provider, and there's Bryn. So Bryn's currently the only SaaS provider that's on TrustMix. So that's a good position to be in. Hopefully I can get some more, so it can give you that competition. And then, same thing with all of the other categories. So yeah, that's the sort of the main use at the moment. And we're working to obviously flesh it out a little bit more. So then on the edit profile section, which is the bit that when you first log in to set up your account, I've tried to take my account back to like basics, like what you see when you first log in. So this bit where you can upload your profile photo, so I can do that, and then you can write a little bit about you. All of these things that you do, I then validate those links, and that boosts your rating up a little bit higher. So all these things have point values attached to it, and some things have higher values than others. So like uploading your profile photo actually gets you a good way up there just from a standing start, just because it makes you a real person, versus you see it on some platforms where it's just got an icon of a person, an icon of like an avatar, and it's like, that's you, that makes you who you are. Then you've got these social links. So, and you can also add your email address, phone number. There's also a tick box, so you can make that visible or not. If you make it visible, then obviously other people can see it, and you also get points based on that. And then here's the add a category. So this is where you can add yourself as a whatever. So if I wanted to add myself as, let's say, a sourcer, then it's got things like, okay, areas I cover as a sourcer. So maybe I'm a sourcer and I cover the Northeast. Maybe I also cover, say, Yorkshire, maybe. Yeah. And then main investment strategies. So I can then select the strategies I cover. So HMOs and let's go buy, refurb, refinance. And then business type, I can select whether I'm personal, sole trader, limited company. So on limited company, that's another thing that contributes to enhancing trust. Like we can go and validate you have a registered company on company's house. So obviously there's lots of challenges to these things, because just because someone has a limited company doesn't mean they're trustworthy, right? But we're going to be fleshing out the ratings algorithm, all those rating factors in a little bit more detail. You could, and please give me feedback on what you think is going, things that ideas, because we can do all these things. Like if you think that it's how old the person's limited company is, or how many dissolved companies they have, but not necessarily. So yeah. And then, as a sourcer, you've got like the compliance information here, so they can fill this in and then submit it for verification. I'm then going to go off to HMRC, AML, and I'm going to look at the register, check that you're actually on there. I can then put a tick. If you do all of these things, you then get like a little, like on Twitter and Instagram, you get like a little verified green tick. So you can get that as well. So if you go on some sources, you can see that it says sourcer verified, because we've taken those steps to verify the information. And that same principle we're going to apply to, say, brokers, like if you're FCA regulated, or if you're part of some of the bodies. So obviously we need to make sure that we're doing the right things, and that we have the right weightings that reflect the core sort of value of the things that contribute to enhancing trust.
So, I have a question here from, also I think it's been answered. You have a question, can you be classed under more than one category?
Absolutely, yeah. So
that's from Catherine.
Yeah, yes, Catherine. So yeah, you can be more than one, and I'm going over to the edit profile now, but actually I'm going to flick back to the search page just to show you that. So that's when we first started, I thought the same thing, like, can you only be one, and you can actually you can be multiple. And some of the functionality, like Chris is an investor also and a sourcer, so his investor score is going to be different to his sourcer score. Now I think a better example is if you're a painter and decorator and you're also a solicitor, you might be a really good solicitor, but you might be a swear word painter and decorator. So your overall score as a person should really, it shouldn't be that. It should be reflective of the services that someone's searching for you for, if that makes sense. So yeah, you can be more than one, and each of those are going to have its own thing. But there's also some things that are just general. So having a website can be business specific. So you could have an investor website and also a sourcer website, or Facebook. I mean, that's pretty general, but then you can have a business account. So yeah, there's some things that are general, but also things that are specific. We've also added in recommendations. So if I wanted to, I'm not going to, because I guess it would be a bit biased, but if I wanted to recommend Bryn, so we've built in it's very similar to LinkedIn. So I could go on this page and it says recommend Bryn as a suspect.
No, don't do me. Do Sarah, who you were just on, Sarah Pointon. That's a good one because she's spoken here.
She has, yeah. So it's actually a bad example because I found a bug today. So, but yeah, we'll go on Sarah. So Sarah has two recommendations. It's actually one because so Bryn, you've recommended Sarah as an investor. And I suppose that opens up the topic of, what do you recommend someone? Do you have to have done business with that person, or do you have to have just met them for coffee at a networking event, so they physically exist in the real world, or have you done a Zoom call? And maybe we can do all of those, but maybe if you've actually done business with someone, that has a higher weighting. So there's lots that that I can geek out in terms of the algorithm, but I think it's trying to, obviously if it's you've just met someone, then you could write a recommendation. And I guess on a question of what if you can you just have anyone recommend you, or do you have to be on the platform in order to recommend someone? Like, it's like if you're a broker and you have clients that aren't on TrustMix currently, and obviously it's fairly early stages, so chances are you're not going to, they would need to sign up to TrustMix in order to do that, which is a bit not great, but the downside of that on the other side is that who's recommending you, and you could just then, it's open to people, it's open to manipulation and just anyone recommending you, which I don't think is a good thing. So that's a challenge. And yeah, we need to work through that, but that's a sort of core thing. And the core value is all these things that contribute to enhancing trust.
Just quickly, Jonathan, quick question, mate. Sorry to interrupt.
No, go for it.
Is there a way? Well, I'm sure there is a way. Obviously, as you're linking into, or you're connecting up with LinkedIn, is there any way, like using APIs or something, to maybe look at some of the LinkedIn recommendations that are already there? That would just obviously speed the process up a little bit, wouldn't it? Yeah,
that's an absolutely great question, and I added that to our Trello board last week. So
one step ahead of me.
Yeah, mate, yeah, but then I was looking at, because that's in a way a bit of a shortcut on the recommendations, because it's super difficult to get people to come on, sign up, get recommendations. How do we almost fast track that, or just do a temporary thing? And sure, there's API link ups, and what I'm trying to do is like sprint in and then do the API stuff first. Like a big believer in, there's a guy, Brian Chesky, who's the founder of Airbnb, and he says, do things that don't scale, which is almost like, I shouldn't be saying this in a property networking event, because we're all about systemizing and scaling and being able to scale things. But actually, when you're building something out, I think sometimes it's important to get the nuts and bolts in first, and to sort of automate and scale that up later. But yeah, absolutely. What I'm looking at is going to be doing something similar, Darren. But then the challenge is, if you've got someone who's got 20 recommendations on LinkedIn, are those recommendations directly related to the work that they're doing? And actually, how old it is, if 5 of those recommendations, like 4 or 5 years ago, how relevant are they now? So obviously we need to factor that in as well.
Yeah, as you said earlier, and it needs to be tiered, doesn't it? Because we could all recommend each other here, and we all know we're all great people, and we're top guys and girls, but we haven't all necessarily worked with each other and done business together. So it's two levels of it, isn't there?
Yeah. If you look at what I said to Sarah, if you look at what I did about Sarah, I recommended her as an investor. I said Sarah's a really great speaker. Her enthusiasm shines out. Blah 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 blah. It wasn't, I can recommend her as an investor, because I can't. Right? Yeah. You can all read what I put there. The other thing that I found when making a recommendation that I fed back to Jonathan, he gave me some really interesting feedback, was you have to put 120 words. So you can't just flag up each other and just go, oh yeah, they're great. You actually have to do something meaningful, which I quite liked, because it becomes a meaningful recommendation, rather than just, I've got 3,500 likes on bloody, what's that 5-star rating thing that I always slag off?
Trustpilot?
Whatever it is, Trustpilot, which you pay for. So I quite like the fact that I actually had to put some thought into it.
Yeah, and obviously there's an element of moderation as well, which I need to factor in, and especially in terms of this down the line, in terms of it being a business model, right? Because sure, there's going to be a monetization element of it, and to grow out into a business model. Because if I can generate like real value and usefulness of it, obviously there'll be an element of people wanting to pay for elements of it. So, but I need to make sure that we're constantly doing those things in moderation. Obviously there's a cost in that, and then there's an automation API, like Dan was saying. So yeah, there's lots of problems to solve, and I'm having good fun doing it. And obviously the biggest challenge, sort of going back to what I said earlier, is trying to get as many people on board. And that's the biggest thing. So I think that's I think that's it. So I can answer any questions if there are any.
Can you put your link for people to sign up in the chat box, please?
Absolutely. I will do that now.
Thank you. And then what I'll do when I post the video, I'll put the link in it as well, so that people that aren't here, they can look in the comments or in the post and join as well, which would be fantastic.
Thank you, Claire. And yeah, thanks everyone for listening, and thank you if you sign up.